9 o'clock in, baby.
Yeah.
You ready?
Yeah.
Oh, this is different. Okay.
We on our Grussle, grind and our hustle.
There's more to come as far as football.
Yeah, we're coming back.
We're coming back. Clock in.
Got like shaft.
Clock in.
You know what I'm talking
Clock in.
Shut your mouth.
We on our Grussle, grind and our hustle.
Yeah. What's good, Nick?
We on our Grussle,
You already know what it is.
grind and our hustle.
Hey, Brown was mic'd up for Christmas. I swear he said "Yerp."
You probably
I
did.
swear he said "Yerp."
You probably did.
I swear.
Merry Christmas. Happy holidays, all that, man. Hope you had a good one. Episode 95. Yeah, 95.
Here with my brothers again. I just want to say I'm glad.
Amen to that.
Amen. And I am blessed. Amen. Here we are.
We back.
There's more to come as far as football.
Yeah, we're coming back.
We're coming back.
It's the right vibe for the night.
Oh.
Was that you or was that you?
No, that was. I can't take credit for that. That was
Alright,
me.
alright.
I can't. That was- Yeah, I can't take credit for
Nah,
that. If that was me, though, that would have been crazy.
Yeah, you in your duffel bag with this one. You in your duffel.
Yeah. Yeah, that's different. Let's take off. That was perfect.
Can I get a set of Nico though? You hear me?
Oh, I didn't get you.
That's all I need.
Oh, okay.
Say that
Nah, we need the other one.
Oh, the other joint.
It's the last one of the
Yeah.
year.
Hold on.
It's the last one of the year.
Hold on. Let me get right.
Oh shoot, this is the last part of the
Yeah,
year.
that's crazy.
Federico.
What do you do?
I was trying
You
to.
start licking his lips.
The light skin face.
I can't
Oh,
even do it.
man.
I can't even do it.
I love it.
I love it when they count me out.
I love it. Episode 94.
Yeah, last one of 2022, man. Round of applause for that, man. Wow, that's crazy.
Clock in.
It's been 2.5 years.
Clock in.
First episode was June 7th, 8th, or 9th, 2020, one of those dates. And man, we're almost at that centennial mark, man, of 100.
Is that correct, E? Centennial?
We were saying, what were we saying? Century?
I was saying century.
You got it.
All right, centennial.
All right.
We on our
Centennial.
Grussle, grind
Yeah,
and
man,
our
last
hustle.
episode of the year is crazy. But before we get into it, Cole's here, Marshall Hamilton.
Other co-host, Austin Hamilton. Welcome.
Yeah, welcome. If you're new, we appreciate you. If you're not new, we appreciate you. And
If you left, we appreciate you. But come on back.
yeah,
It's
go
okay.
ahead. It's all right.
Man. Y'all come on back. Get your plate. Get your plate. Come on back.
Come get fed. But yeah, we've been talking about this the last 3 or 4 episodes, and how we are kind of focusing on the folks that we interact with in our business, the Goods Basketball. So shout out to the Goods. Before I get into the episode, I need to shout out our sponsor. So shout out to Ico Underwood, who is with Arista Real Estate. Ico is a registered real estate agent in Virginia. Ico is a single mom, Marine veteran. Great story. If you go to episode 56, whether it's on YouTube or Apple or Spotify or our website, you can listen to her story. But I love that Ico practices what she preaches. She has 3 homes, 2 investment properties. So not only can she give you advice on how to buy and sell a home, but even owning a home, whether that's for your residence or for business reasons, for investment reasons. So If you go to our website, clockinpod.com, that's CLOCKINPOD.com, and go to sponsors, you'll see a section where you can click a link that directs you to her website and lets her know that we sent you there. So holla at Aiko. 2023 is looking kind of interesting economy-wise, so it's a great time to speak to someone like Aiko to kind of plan what's next and make sure you're thinking about things in the right way. So appreciate you, Aiko, and
Thanks, Aiko.
yeah, we'll have her on again. But getting into the episode today, we wanted to engage the folks that listen to the pod, follow us on social media, and get an idea of what they wanted us to talk about, right? And as I was saying before I got into the sponsor part, we've been talking a lot about these things that we feel can help the kids that we train, the parents that we work with, coaches, trainers, just the basketball community, right? For those who don't know, if you're listening for the first time, we kind of lived and breathed basketball most of our lives. We both played varsity actually together for a year, played college basketball. We still play today, just recreationally, and we've been training officially since May of 2020. But, we have been working with kids and working with other people way before that. So basketball is kind of where our expertise is. That said, people come to us for certain guidance. And shout out to Emily Clark. I'll let you talk about Emily since you know her personally. Then I'll kind of get into the topic. But
Yeah, so met Emily through Chris Whalen, my Herndon High School basketball coach, and your coach as well. Trained her son, Sammy. Sammy has a ton of potential. He's got good size, but he has a passion for learning and a passion for trying to get better. So I'm excited to see him progress and grow. And Emily, she sees it in her son that there's going to be a future in basketball. So
right.
She asked the right questions. She's always curious about AAU and what travel teams to play for, what AAU teams to play for. And shout out to Instagram's new, I don't even know what to call it, like status thingy.
The note to join?
The notes, yeah.
It's a status pretty
Yeah.
much, yeah.
Posted on the notes, asking about, what you all wanted to hear from the pod. And she got back to me with some good questions and things that she would love to learn more about. So, if you want to get into it.
How old is Sammy?
Sammy, I believe, is 10 or 11.
Okay. So he's at that age where...
And he's tall. Like, he's
Okay.
really tall. I mean, Emily's like 6'2".
I think I know who you're talking about.
You've seen it before.
Was he was with that group?
Yeah, they came to the Herndon.
Okay.
Exactly. He helped train that one time. Yeah.
No, I like that kid.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what's up. Okay. I didn't realize that was her.
Yeah.
So let's just get into it. So Emily asked us to kind of touch on the county, which is travel if you're not from this area. Travel here means you play for your town, essentially, and then you play in the league against other towns.
Within that county.
Within that county, yeah. So it's ages...
Well, it's different now, because I think...
Well, they added a couple...
Loudon. Yeah.
Like a Loudon team and then a team from Gainesville. But out here, instead of having, an elementary school or middle school team, we don't have any of that here. We have, for example, we're from Herndon. So Herndon has a team, but Herndon has 2 middle schools, right? Reston has a team. Chantilly has a team, and there's multiple middle schools in Chantilly. So the idea is the best players from that town get on a team, and then they play against other towns or cities. And then AAU, which is pretty self-explanatory, right? It's the next level above travel, where usually it's the best players in a given area playing against, the best players in your area or in other areas around the country. So we wanted to start with what travel in AAU was like when we were coming up, right? And it kind of set the stage because, unfortunately, in a lot of ways, it's changed negatively. So we want to kind of differentiate. So when we were coming up, to make a travel team, you had to be pretty good or really good, or you were tall and you had potential. That's pretty much what you had to be to make a travel team.
Politics too.
Yeah, there was some politics, involved depending on the organization and stuff like that. But
Always politics, especially in Northern Virginia.
but for the most part, you were pretty good. And and then the teams that you played against, whether it was Division I or Division II, were also pretty good or really good, right? So when I played travel, I didn't have. I mean, my team was okay. I mean, we weren't spectacular, but we competed, and we got to see kind of a preview of who we're going to play in high school, right? So by the time we got to high school, there was already kind of like some rivalries that we had developed and people that, we had gone against and kind of were familiar with, right? These days, I feel like, one, there are towns who struggle to even get enough kids to try out.
Herndon being one of them.
Herndon being one of them. So they kind of have to choose. Like, before, I'll put it this way. There would probably be 20 to 25 kids that try out. And then the coach is selecting like 10 to 12. Right?
I think we got an A and a B.
Yeah, and then that's the thing. And then that's the other thing. Depending on how many kids try out and how good your teams are, some towns have A and B teams. And that's still the case today. But the B teams today would be house league teams when we were coming up.
And explain what house league is.
House league is the recreation league. There's no selection. It's pretty much everyone makes the team. They have evaluations and they try to make the teams even, essentially, right? But even back in our day, there were still some pretty good rec league players who just didn't make the team. So travel today, the quality isn't as good. The coaching definitely isn't as good, which is part of the problem. And then say that again.
The leadership.
The leadership at the actual youth organizations isn't as good. There isn't as much of a community aspect that's connected. Where high school coaches are connected to the travel program.
And I should say this, like when we say it isn't as good, I mean obviously, there's other factors as to why, right?
Yeah, right.
But from what I've noticed, like even just like the marketing of, hey, Herndon basketball tryouts or, whatever town tryouts, you don't really see that anymore. And you said something that was important, basically like, your county team, your travel team was pretty much like a reflection of what you were going to see when you got to high school.
Right.
And what I feel like what it used to be was your travel team was like a reflection of the actual high school team.
For sure. That's how I looked at it.
Meaning like Herndon playing Reston, and you couple that with Herndon South Lakes, which is the high schools, like those are the rivalries that started Herndon playing Reston.
Right. Real quick, Nico, who's doing the video for us.
And you can talk to this.
He was a year older than me, and I remember I used to hear about y'all's games against Reston. If I remember correctly, there was a couple fights or something close to something happening when y'all played. I just remember hearing how intense those games were. But I wanted to bring Nico because when I played varsity as a junior, Nico was a senior. It pretty much was like the same team. It was pretty much the same guys.
Yeah.
It was literally the same guys that you played against in 7th and 8th grade when you guys got to varsity your senior year. It was literally the same dudes.
I played for Reston 1 year too though.
I did too.
And Mick did. And Mick played. No, Mick played for Reston.
Yeah. I did too. But I would say that's kind of where the disconnect is. Like, you knew, all right, if I'm playing for Herndon, I'm going to play for Herndon High School. If I'm playing for Reston, I'm probably playing for South Lakes. And again, it was almost like
It was loyalty.
Yeah, it was a loyalty and a sense of community pride that I don't think these travel organizations, you know, I don't think it spilled over to these travel organizations.
Yeah.
And that's a problem.
You had a different travel experience than I did, because you had a coach who actually knew what he was doing. But that's a whole nother story. But.
Yeah, my experience, it was a good one. I played for my town, Herndon, the first year, and then
He played up.
He actually played up.
He played up.
I played up.
9.
I needed to play up because it wouldn't have been a challenge. Actually, I don't even know.
You would have had to play house because
Yeah.
there was no fourth grade.
Yeah,
team.
there wasn't.
Yeah.
John B played up too,
Yeah.
but ended up playing up. You know, shout out. I got to shout out Coach Robinson, man, because Coach Robinson was my coach. You know, there were some decisions that were made in a critical game that didn't sit well with my dad and myself. So we ended up moving to Reston.
I don't even remember what it was. Do you remember what it was?
I don't know. It doesn't.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Yeah. But ended up moving to Reston.
He's still sick about that, by the way.
Yeah, I know he is. But I mean, the reason why was, and I don't suggest people doing this because you had a bad year, but I think.
Well, you didn't even have a bad, you didn't perform.
No, not
bad.
perform well,
yeah.
but whatever.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. That's one of the clips.
But because, you know, they knew that I was pretty skilled, and in order for me to be challenged, I needed to play with the best.
Yeah.
And Reston had the best talent, you know, in our vicinity.
Yeah.
So I actually tried out for the older team, and that team was loaded. Like, Scooter, your uncle, was the coach of that team, and he told me and my dad, like, we just don't have spots available. So I ended up going down to play with my age group, and I mean, we had a stellar year. We ended up winning the championship. Played with some guys that I eventually would play against in high school. And then
in the district championship.
In the district, it's crazy how it worked out. Yeah. We ended up forming an AAU team off of that Reston team.
Yeah. That
went on to do really well. And then, just to make a long story short, ended up going back to Herndon. Coach Don Nemo pretty much recruited me back to Herndon. Yeah. And you know, he basically said, look, it's going to be your team from here on out. And, you know, we kind of, you know, he pitched us, and it worked out in my favor. But, yeah, I think, you know, for parents, man, always start, you know, with your community. Because at the end of the day, if you know, all right, this is where my kids are going to go to high school, that's who you want to build a relationship with. Right. Players-wise, parents-wise, leaders in the community, start there. Right. And then, you know, if things don't work out for whatever reason, you know, I would encourage you to go elsewhere if that's, you know, if it's a real reason. But always start in your community, man, because, again, you want to develop that sense of pride, the relationships, you know, with those players, parents. Yeah. And then, you know, you just kind of go from there. So,
and I wanted to bring this up because my situation was a little bit different. The only, let's see, the only guy who played varsity with me that also played travel with me was JJ. JJ didn't come to my junior year because Isaac never played travel. He tried out actually.
He got cut, right?
He got cut. Yeah. Ended up being first team all district as a senior. But your story was special, and I want to piggyback off of what you said about the community aspect, because Austin's decision to come back to Herndon actually ended up paying off when they got to high school, because Jonathan, Austin, and Raleigh and even Matt Stevens were critical parts of their championship run their senior year. Raj,
ended up being like a manager.
Yeah, I mean,
it played freshman JV.
Sean Wheeler.
I never even thought.
Sean Wheeler was a big support. So my thing is like, I don't know if you guys have the year you guys have if you don't have that chemistry, and it's not just chemistry with the players, but the parents. And there's the thing, like, parents, y'all don't understand the power that you guys have over a team. You really don't, because if there's drama with parents, if there's jealousy, there's just not a good vibe. That stuff spills onto the court. And we talked about this in other podcasts recently about how parents have to understand their kid's role, but like as players, you got to be able to check your parents. Like, hey, I know you love me. I know you think I should be playing more, but I need you to support the team, not be on the bleachers pouting or complaining because I'm not playing as much as you think, right? So my point is, there was already just a kind of a chemistry across the board that Coach Whelan did not have to create.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I give a lot.
And not that he didn't and obviously he did what he was supposed to do as a coach. But what I'm saying is the importance of you guys choosing programs where the players are going to be most likely going to the same school. I mean, it's going to pay off. It's going to pay off.
And Nemo deserves a lot of credit too, because the parents pretty much knew, okay, Austin's the guy. Like, pretty sure he communicated that. And then you had guys like Raleigh and Jonathan. Like, those roles were kind of already cemented, like at a young age, and they carried on throughout high school. And
let's not forget, when you played for Ruston, you busted Herndon's. You played Herndon, and he destroyed them.
Yeah.
So, like, imagine you going to Ruston. Imagine staying with Ruston.
It's funny because I never even thought about it.
Imagine staying with Ruston. You just destroyed them for 3 straight years. And they definitely would have been haters.
And honestly, if I would have stayed with Ruston, I don't know if I even go to Herndon.
You may have went to South Lakes.
Well, not even that.
Well,
I could have.
You could have went private. Yeah.
Like, because like that team was really good.
Yeah.
And if we stuck together, and really it's a blessing in disguise for Nemo.
Yeah.
Because if Coach Zach didn't move to Richmond, I wasn't leaving.
Right.
So, shout out to Coach Zach, man. He was amazing coach.
I always wonder what he was doing.
His son was gonna be a problem.
His son, first of all, was 5 and had muscles that in his neck that connected to his.
You go. This kid, like legit, like 4 or 5, and could shoot like free throws.
He was strong he was like this, strong as nuts. Yeah, I don't know what. Yeah, I gotta look him up, but.
Good. I think a good segue to that though is going into AAU though, right? And I mentioned like our Reston team, we were so good and we played so well together. That team converted into an AAU team, and it was one of those things like, well, if it's not broke, don't fix it. And a lot of parents won't take that approach because their kid isn't spotlighted on this AAU team. So I'm going to go over here where my kid can get the ball and do whatever. Sometimes it may work out.
Sometimes that's the right decision.
Sometimes it is. But, again, are you doing it for the right reasons? Are you doing it because there's jealousy? Are you doing it because, you just don't think he's going to grow here? And like you said, it could be the right reason.
Yeah.
But more times than not, it isn't.
I'm going to talk to. I'm just going to call it what it is. A lot of parents are in competitions with other parents.
Oh, 100%.
And that's part of the problem. What do you it
is a problem.
Yeah. I mean, it's part of the problem with AAU and travel and all these other things, but especially AAU, because with travel, you can't pick up your ball and go home and then go create a team, right? You have limited options, so you kind of have to stick it out, which is good in my opinion. With AAU, a dad can get pissed off and say, "Well, I'm going to start my own team," which goes to what's different between now and then. Back in the day, in Northern Virginia, there's probably 8 legitimate AAU programs, right? So let's look at like the progression, right? The travel teams are the best players in that area. In that town, I should say, or city. The AAU programs were the best travel players in the area. So it wasn't just it's just travel. No, like the top 2 to 4 travel players from every team are competing to make the best, let's say 6 to 8 AAU teams in Northern Virginia. That's how it used to be. Do you know how many playing AAU, if you made an AAU team back then, and before we started playing, it was even less than that. You had like 2 or maybe 4 AAU teams that were legit. So if you made an AAU team, you were that dude or that girl. You know what I mean? So then what ended up happening over time is all these kids who played travel or house who didn't make AAU teams, or kids who didn't play as much on AAU as they would have liked, well, we're going to start our own team. So then now you have 60 AAU teams to the point where I see kids at the gym who are awful. I'm not, and there's no disrespect to the kid, but they're awful. I'm like, who do you play? Yeah, I play Nova 94 and I play AAU. You play AAU? Because now it's a business, right? So as far as advice, you have to understand, all right, what is AAU today? What is it, right? Before it was a way for kids to get exposure, compete against the best in the country. And to a degree, that's still true. But if you're not in
fluff.
Yeah, if you're not in a circuit, a Nike circuit, an Under Armour circuit, an Adidas circuit, I think those are the only 3 circuits. There's probably another one that
Under
I'm missing.
Armour.
Yeah, I mentioned Under Armour, but I think there's another league or whatever. But my point is, if you're not on those circuits, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't play and that you're not going to get exposure. But those circuits are what AAU used to be, right? So
and then an advice for parents, AAU is expensive.
Yeah.
So AAU typically starts February, March time frame up until
end
August.
of July, August, yeah.
So imagine you're playing in all these tournaments every weekend, gas sometimes or overnight, food, there's fees for you to get into the game, fees for the tournament. It's an investment. So to Marshall's point, if you're not kind of on those top teams, and this is also for the player development, you don't need to be playing in tournaments every weekend.
Yeah.
I know for me, as a parent, my kid gets to a certain age, if they're not, honestly, up until maybe middle school, we're not playing in tournaments every weekend. We're going to get in the gym, we're going to work, we'll play in some tournaments, but it's just unnecessary to play in a tournament every weekend.
We might have our own league by then that they're playing in. For real.
Yeah, which is fine by me, because again, it's like you said, AAU it's even more so a business now.
Right, and to go back to what you were saying, we played in the local summer league up until I was 13. Actually, at the same time I was playing AAU, but the summer league that we played in was really good competition still. But if there's any local summer leagues that your kid can get reps in, where it's 1 or 2 games a week, and you're not, like Austin said, in that top echelon, then I recommend that. The other thing he talked about was the player development side of it. Season-ending injuries like ACL tears, Achilles, patella tendon tears, broken. That is let's think about this. Like, sports science has gotten better over the years, right? But we're getting injured at younger and younger ages more often than people who played in the 80s, 90s, 70s, early 2000s. What's the difference? We're playing way more games. So it's going to be marketed to you that your kid has to play AAU, and there's going to be FOMO, and his, you're going to hear about his friend Tommy who went to Miami, and they're saying they're having a great time, and that if your son or daughter needs to play AAU, because if not, then they're not going to make it. That isn't true. So for your kids, like, just quality of life and for their body, it's okay to play a different sport during that time.
And we're prime examples, right?
Yeah.
I was siloed to basketball. I played football 1 year in 8th grade. I was a lockdown corner, had like 7 interceptions, but that's not here nor there. But I had played basketball year round since I was 10.
10, yeah.
I get to my sophomore year in college, boom, torn ACL. What happened to you the year before?
Torn ACL.
And you had knee problems in high school.
Yeah, so
And you didn't play another sport. Like, you literally did. You played pitching machine, but you couldn't really see. And
I was swinging at it.
This dude Marshall played a whole season. Was it the last game?
What?
When you got glasses?
Nah, it was towards the end of the season.
This dude Marshall.
It was Robinson. It was like the middle. It was like the middle of district play.
No. I'm talking about when you played baseball.
I didn't get glasses.
You didn't have glasses? Okay.
No.
This dude Marshall.
I didn't get glasses till I was 17.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
I got a hit every the last 5 games of the season. Every game though. Yeah, he got right out.
But now I was about to say, like, you couldn't see, and that was the problem.
The point is, I didn't play another sport. He's trying to.
No, all I'm saying. But nah, you. Again,
all right, parents, get some glasses if you can't see. Bro, I don't know how I made a bucket, an assist, anything, with the way my eyesight was. But that's a whole nother topic.
We got to get Wheeler on just so you can tell that story.
But yeah, the point is AAU.
Well, let me ask you this.
Yeah, go ahead.
What would you're a parent, right? What are you looking for in an AAU program? Like, what's some of the criteria that you're looking for when you're going to put your kid in an AAU program?
Culture. Culture. Standards. I'm looking at their what's the word I'm looking for? I guess system to a degree. It's not as formal as maybe other types of teams like travel or high school. But when I talk about culture, from the 10-year-old team to the 17U team, are they all similar and are they all winning? Right?
Are they teaching them the same principles?
Yeah, exactly. And are they winning? And then standards, right? If my kid may be the best player on the team, whatever, or he may be the worst player on the team. Again, we'll see. Is everyone getting held to the same standard? Right? Is the best player, is he or she able to slack off and it's okay? Or are they going to get cussed out the same way my kid would if he wasn't the best player? And then system, right? Like, this is where you have to know your child's strengths, right? There are some AAU programs that have somewhat of a system, or a profile of players that they typically look for, right? So if you're more of I come off screens and shoot, or you need set plays to be able to be successful, and the AAU team you're trying out for is known for just playing like off the dribble, or feeding it into the post or whatever, you should know that stuff before you go to the tryout. But most parents, all right, I heard about this tryout, I'm just going to go there. Heard about that tryout, I'm just going to go there. They try out for like 4 different teams, and then sometimes your kid is good enough, but they get cut, and you're like, well, he was better than da 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 da. And it's like, did you ask the coach what their philosophy is? Did you ask the coach what their system is? So those are things I would ask before going to tryouts, if you don't already know the coach. Now, to Austin's point, you should. To me, it's better if your travel, someone in your travel organization has a connection somewhere to a team, because they'll be able to kind of help point you in the right direction, or they may have their own team. So those are the things I'm looking for. I don't really care about the name recognition or the shoes that they wear or like the sponsors they get. It's more so, what is it? How are you going to prepare let's say they're in middle school or like late elementary, right? How are you going to prepare my kid to be successful in high school? Or if they're in high school, how are you going to prepare them to be successful in college? And as a on and off the court, not just on the court. So that's what I would be looking for.
Yeah, and I agree. There's some little things like organization, right? Like,
yeah, that's big.
Like
actually. Huge for AAU. That's big. There's a lot of new AAU teams that they're not organized.
They're just kind of going with it, as they go. But is there someone that is handling like that administrative stuff?
Yeah.
Whether it's a team mom or like someone that has a role within the AAU organization. For those of you who don't know, AAU organizations are nonprofits.
Yeah.
So these people are, essentially volunteering for the most part.
Can I say something real quick? Now that you're saying that, it's real quick. And I'm a new parent, so this may change as my son gets older, but location to me is something you should be looking at, because you may think you have to play for this team that's all the way out in Maryland if you live in Northern Virginia, or vice versa, or 45 minutes away. But if it's going to affect like your quality of life as a parent and like your job, your other kids, it's okay to say, look, you need, like, this is what I can do travel wise, time wise. This is my time commitment I can give. There are 4 AAU teams that practice in this vicinity. Like parents these days, I feel like let their kids kind of run the show to a degree. So it's okay to like not want to travel that far. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. That's just something that came to mind. Like it may not make sense for you to go from Herndon to Woodbridge 3 times a week.
No, again, it's a huge commitment and investment. That's why it's important that parents do their due diligence and know what they're getting into. But yeah, like I was saying, organization is huge, man, because there's a lot that goes into running an AAU organization. When it comes to tournaments, having to register players, registering your team, hotels, like food. There's a lot that goes into it. So, again, small thing to add on to what you're saying, but that's a huge one. And then one of the things that you said, man, really resonated with culture. My last year playing AAU, I played with Team Takeover. That organization is led by Keith Stevens. And you mentioned someone that's going to treat their players the same way. Team Takeover, if you don't know about them, look them up. Probably top 3 AAU organization ever. They put out guys that are like lottery picks.
That are in the All-Star game.
Like literally every
NBA
year.
All-Star games. Yeah.
And that whole mantra of like everyone's going to get treated this, like I experienced it. First practice or workout, whatever they were called, I get cussed out because I didn't call the score of a game. He said the point guards need to call out the score after each bucket. And I forgot one time. He, stopped practice and cussed me out. This is the first time meeting this guy. But he knew, okay, this little public school kid, and I know why he did it, and we'll get Keith on the pod at some point. I was wearing Adidas because Herndon was Adidas.
Oh, yeah.
All I had was Adidas.
Yeah.
And Team Takeover is a Nike, run program. So that's probably why he cussed me out. But again, he was treating guys like, Darian Atkins, who ended up playing for the Knicks. Michael Gilchrist played at Duke. All these top guys, all the same. And what I loved about Keith and what he instilled in those guys, if you're going to play for me, you're going to play defense. I don't care how many points you average in your low league, but when you're on this team, you're going to play defense.
Yeah.
And what did that team do my year? They won the Peace Jam, which is you're the best AAU,
the best AAU team in the country.
Yeah. And in our team, which I was on the B team, we made it to the Final Four of our national tournament.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, it starts at the top, and there's a reason why from top to bottom, from 17 to 10, they're successful. So, look at it. Look at teams throughout and just make your decisions from there.
For sure. And the last thing I was going to say about AAU, it just slipped my mind. We were talking about, I just talked about location. You talked about something. Man, it'll come back to me.
I talked about organization.
Organization. It'll come back to me. It's not that important. It's a good segue into our next topic. This one will be quick, and then we'll wrap up with our last topic. But what can players do outside of just playing, right? Playing in games. We talked about working out. We've talked about, other things. But we had a question or topic suggestion, I should say, by Aaron. I don't know Aaron's last name, but...
shout out to Aaron.
Yeah, shout out to Aaron.
I don't know his last name either.
But he said,
try.
The detrimental effects of young players watching the NBA, right? So we've talked about this here and there on the podcast, but
keep going.
Since we talked about AAU is more equivalent to NBA style basketball. Travel high school is more equivalent to college, right? So if you're trying to play in college, and if that's your goal, I don't know, man. I'm not the smartest guy in the world. College is before the NBA, right?
I think so.
Okay.
We're still in America, right?
Yeah. College is before the NBA. Okay. So 99.99% of you, if you even want a chance to go to the NBA, you're going to have to go to college. So if I were you, I would watch way more college basketball than NBA. Why? Because it's the closest step that you can watch before the NBA. That's just me. But the problem is the NBA is the most popular. It has the most, glitz and glamour. And it's the most attractive, right? There's highlights, all that stuff. So most young people watch NBA players, right? I had favorite college players growing up. Now, Kobe was my guy.
I have favorite high school players.
Yeah, I had favorite high school players.
We knew, we were different. We were sickos, but we knew about, there's guys that have never met us that, not to toot my own horn, but, I probably had more, local family. And I know them. If I were to see them, I'd be like, yo, I used to watch you play, dog.
Yeah, bro, if I see, anyone from the old Herndon South Lakes rivalries, Chris Holmes.
Matt Hale and Arrow. You know what I'm saying? That
you
stuff,
remember that?
Yeah, dog, and I'm, good buddies with those guys now.
Yeah,
and I tell them, yo, growing up, man,
we looked up to them,
yeah,
dog. When Chase Miller came to Herndon, I was like, yo, because Chase.
That was like Nash.
Steve Nash.
That was like
Steve Nash,
Yeah.
but because Chase, I remember
That was
Chase
when
as a sophomore at Oakton
That was
killing Herndon, even though Herndon won. Like,
Shout out Bart from Oakland.
oh yeah, but that and
Bart
Bart
Reed.
Reed, yeah, God, I'm cool with Bart now. Bart was, he gave us 40.
But he gave someone 40. I'm not gonna say names.
He gave
someone 40.
40, and
I was there too.
and lost by 11. And there was like 15 people in the gym at his home game. He dropped 40, went stupid. But anyways, here's the thing, especially nowadays, you got ESPN U3. There's way more college basketball games on than there are NBA games.
But here's another thing though, dog. Obviously, the NBA has its downside, but I feel like these kids aren't even watching the NBA. They're watching the Filet accounts. They're watching
That's
the
a
Hoop
fact.
Mixtape accounts.
Yeah,
They're watching
Yep.
Ball is Life. And what are they posting? They're posting Mikey Williams do some crazy Filet layup.
And I'm gonna be honest, Mikey probably wouldn't even go to the league.
I mean, I don't know. I don't really know the kid's game like that. But yeah, the NBA is whatever. But I think nowadays, man, these kids, they see these local, or not local,
TikTok.
but these TikTok famous guys, and they see the different moves that they're doing, and it's like that's not real basketball.
And then they try it.
And they try it, yeah. Like,
I see.
I don't know if kids are like trying to do what like Fred VanVleet does in the game. That might be a bad example, but they're more swayed to.
He plays defense. He makes open shots.
But they're more swayed to see again, like the Hezzy God. Like I hate to say it, but he probably has more influence than a Fred VanVleet, which is the problem.
Yeah, exactly.
And who's putting this stuff out? These media accounts.
Yep.
So, like, if we're going to put a blame on...
It's not the kids.
It's not the kids. It's,
because we followed And1. Like, And1 was, like, probably the closest thing to, like, what they had.
And And1, I mean, why do you think... The NBA got rid of And1. Like, we're keeping it above.
Yeah, 100%.
The NBA got rid of And1.
100%.
And if you watch that doc, it's really good.
Yeah,
Nike got rid of him, too.
I would say Nike might have got rid of him.
Nike got rid of him. Because what did they start doing? The Jason Williams hip-hop beat commercial with like that's what started it. But yeah, again, I think the NBA can be detrimental to a player.
Here's a
but
thought.
You have to know. Kids need to know. Okay, the difference between this dude is just putting on a show. This dude has a green light to dribble X amount of times, aka James Harden or Luka Doncic, right? But that's not how you play the game, and that's not how you're gonna play the game once you get to a certain level. So you don't need to be watching him. It's cool to like get some stuff from him, but understand there's only one guy, maybe two guys that can do whatever the hell they want on the court. And if you're not that guy on your current team, what makes you think you're gonna do that 10 years from now?
And I've been thinking, like, how can we get kids to watch more college basketball? And it just kind of came to me. And not everyone who's listening to this has this option, but I would imagine most of you do. And let's just say, like, you live in this area, right? If you're a parent and you're like, you know what, I want to get my kid watching college basketball. There's like 12 schools.
Take them to a game.
Exactly.
Fun.
There's like 12 schools from the Division III to Division I JUCO level that you can just take them and have them just watch.
So I worked out,
and the games aren't that expensive.
I worked at George Mason Athletic Ticket Office. You can reach out to the ticket office and say, "Hey, we want to play at halftime.
Oh yeah,
we want to do a high five line when they run out. Hey, we want to hold the flag." So not only can you go to the game, you can actually participate.
We are part of the experience.
They had some kids would play at halftime.
Yeah.
Or after the game.
No, they're looking for group.
Yeah. So if you're a coach or you're a parent, tell the coach like, "Hey, we want to take a group," because we would go to the varsity games, like, and it still happens a little bit today. But man, growing up, we would go to the varsity games in our travel jersey, like sit together as a travel team.
You probably get him free.
Well,
I know Herndon football.
I know the
games.
football would do that, but
Yeah.
I don't know if basketball would do it. But we would go with like our travel team or like guys that and it was like again.
He was just wearing the whole like warm up suit, dog.
Nah, for real.
Basketball wasn't free.
Nah,
Nah.
it wasn't.
Nobody was coming to the football game.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
that's true.
So take. I mean, you have. I mean, George Mason, Georgetown, American, GW. Those are 4 Division I schools. You got UDC, Division III wise. You got Marymount. You got Catholic University.
Towson isn't too far.
In Baltimore, you got Towson. You have
UMBC,
UMBC, Bowie State in PG County, Coppin State,
Howard.
I forgot about
Shout out to
Howard.
Tyler.
I mean, if if you're closer to, I mean, Division III, you got Shenandoah, which it's out there, but I mean, it's not stupid. It's not stupid far. And then all the schools, there's a ton of schools in Maryland, right? The Division II, like St. Mary's,
Maryland.
Hood, Maryland University, yeah, like Loyola, like there's a ton of college.
Yeah.
You have a ton of options. So my advice is go to a game and see what it really takes. And again, like Nico said, shoot, you get on the court and or you hold the flag. Guess what? Coaches are going to start to recognize you. So watch live basketball, because that's the last thing I'll say on this. Watching live basketball, you really see the game speed and the details. The stuff that we tell these kids, like game speed, the little things, like you see that. And most of these games, you can probably get pretty good seats and get up close. So last thing, and this is it's a controversial topic, man. Not because of what I'm about to say, but just in general.
I mean, this isn't controversial unless we name drop.
No,
We don't need the name drop.
No, it's not even about the name dropping. It's a lot of coaches. We're basically I'm coming at coaches with this because I see it all the time and I've experienced it. So Austin we posted a video of Austin talking about how at Elon they had this drill called Bolts of Lightning.
Bolts of Lightning, and basically it was 3 minutes of just catch and shoot. And if you were a guard or a big, you had to get a certain number to pretty much have a set license to shoot in game, right? So me as a guard, I had to get like 30 or more in 3 minutes. So if I got 30 or more, you earned your license to shoot that shot in a game. Makes sense.
Yeah, I like the concept of it. In theory, it makes sense. So one of Austin's scholars, he commented on it and said, "What should a coach do if the player is making shots in the drill and also putting in extra shots, but they're missing in the game?" So the reason why I say I think this is somewhat controversial is because, man, I see.
Is that a gray hair?
Probably. Or is it some?
Oh no, you.
All right, it's some
You got it. What y'all think, people? Is that? Zoom in on that.
That's
Maybe.
some lynch, yeah. After this year, it might be, but
Trust me.
but I see so many coaches, man, abuse their power and say just little degrading things, confidence stealing things. Just are negative when there's a player who may be struggling with their shooting or anything. But let's just talk about shooting, right? I hear coaches say, "Man, you haven't hit a shot in 3 games. Like, stop shooting that." Or you're about to get your license taken away because you haven't hit a shot in however long, right? Or whatever, right? Like you're a practice shooter. Jokingly, he's a practice shooter, but in the game, he or she, like, they don't. I don't know what happens, right? So I commented on the clock in.
He asked a question like, "What should coaches do?"
Yeah, exactly. Like, what should they do in that situation? And I was like, they should review film first of all to see why they're missing in the game, and then encourage them. Especially if you see that they can make the shot. right? Now, if it's a guy who they haven't shown they can make the shot, then you have to be real and say, look, like, that's not your shot. But a lot of coaches, they don't take the step to, one, watch film with that player and identify, some trends that could be leading to the missing. Like I gave the example, well, it may be in the drill that you're just, catching and shooting, like someone's passing to you, you're just catching and shooting. But in the game, you may be running off a screen and trying to shoot it. Or you may be shooting off the dribble. And those aren't the same types of shots that you have the license. You're not making it the same way that you make it in the practice because it's not the same shot. So that may be something that comes up, and then you adjust. But a lot of coaches, they don't slow down to actually try to help that particular player, especially if it's not a player who's, one of their favorites. So.
Yeah. No, and I've been in a situation similar to that. First, it starts. You gotta start with yourself. Because at the end of the day, it comes down to confidence. And
if you can shoot, if you can actually shoot.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
feel like shooting is confidence too, though.
Huh?
I feel like shooting is confidence.
It's all confidence.
It is, but some of it is mechanics too, though.
Yeah. I mean, of course.
Yeah.
But like I say all the time, Steph Curry is the most confident player in the NBA. Like, he's a great shooter. I think Klay's a better, like, pure shooter. But, like, confidence-wise, like, it's different.
Yeah.
It's different. So, yeah, start with yourself first. Okay, why am I lacking the confidence? What am I doing to kind of get over that hump, right? So trying to figure out, like, what is it internally that is causing me to not make shots? And that's something that you have to kind of fight through, right? So, again, look yourself in the mirror first.
Yeah.
And then from a coaching standpoint, actually, I'll backtrack. You can, as a player, you should be also telling the coach, hey, I want to watch film.
Yeah.
And I want to see why. Because I've been in a situation like that before. Like, coaches, they have a lot going on. Like, they're recruiting. They're doing a lot of stuff. So they're not all the time like, hey, like they got a lot going on. So you got to seek it out.
Yeah. No, I get that part. I'm just talking about they'll criticize.
Yeah.
That's the first thing they do.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. A lot of coaches do that, and that's a problem. And then I think what a coach should do, like you said, watch the film. But then, like, trying to figure out how to best word it. I had the thoughts in my head. As a coach, you have to, like you said, instill the confidence. But then, like, you gotta connect with them on a deeper level. Like, you can't just, like, hey man, like, you're not making shots, but like what's up? Like, what can I do for you to help you get over this hump? And I don't think a lot of coaches do that, right? Like, I know for me, it was different because I essentially got over the hump on my own.
Yeah.
Because I was like, man, I got to snap out of it. But, like, show some film of the kid's best shooting game in high school. Right? Like, hey, I know you can hit the shot because I recruited you to do it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, like,
yeah. Remind
them of who they are.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very powerful message, right? Like, I remember my coaches in college, I was in a shooting slump, and, they were like, one of the coaches was like, man, shoot like you were doing against Chantilly. And I'm sitting here like, I mean, it's completely different. Like, that's not, you shouldn't say that to me. Because if I was playing like I was at Chantilly, the ball would be in my hand.
And that's exactly
90% of the time.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Not to cut you off. Real quick, I was just going to say, some players,
and I hated that.
Some players, you have to let them know that, hey, if you miss, you're not going to be on a short leash. Because a lot of players, when they get in the game, either they don't get that many shot attempts, so they're like, I have to make it, or they're constantly worried, like, man, if if I don't make this, like, I may be coming out, right? So I think that psychologically as a coach, you can let your player just be at ease and say, look, man, like, just relax. Like, everyone's gonna miss shots, but you just look like you're pressing. So that's.
Oh, I know what I was gonna say.
Yeah, go ahead. That's why I had that little commercial break so you could figure
right,
it out.
Appreciate it. But I know for me, right, like, if I'm in a shooting slump, scoring slump in general, there's usually ways to kind of get out of that, and it has nothing to do with scoring. Defense.
Yeah.
Like, I know as a coach, what I would encourage people, I'd be like, you know what, man, like, your shots aren't going in, but I know you can play defense. Like, I know for me as a player, if I wasn't scoring like that, but if I got a deflection or got a steal that led to, like, an open layup, that kind of opened things up.
Yeah.
And I slowly built confidence.
Yeah.
So, like, saying little things like that to your players to let them know, hey, man, we're in this together. Like, you're not going to make every freaking shot. Like, that's just not what it is. But I see the work that you're doing.
Exactly. And you have to say
like,
that.
Recognize that.
You have to say that.
Like, hey, I see you. You're making shots, man. You're putting in extra hours in. You're getting your shots up after practice before. It's coming. Like, it's coming. So, stay in it, man. It starts on defense. Again, be all over the place, get deflections, get steals, and eventually you get that shot and you knock it down, you know, it's going to open up. So, yeah, man, lead with encouragement when players are going through shooting slumps. And it's okay to remind them of what they used to be and what they can still be.
Right.
You know, in the current situation.
The only excuse for me to start off with being critical is if they're just not taking good shots.
And I was going to say.
That's a completely different story. If they're not taking
good shots.
And it's all good shots is all relative depending on the person.
Or they're just not putting in the work.
Yeah, or they're not putting in the work. So that's part of it, a big part of it. But yeah, I mean, as coaches, you all can make or break a player. And a lot of coaches, because of the way they were coached, which is through sarcasm, yelling, criticizing, you know, just being a jerk, that's how they coach, right? It's like anything in life. Like, if your parents were a certain way, you're probably going to parent a certain way to a degree. So as players, though, as Austin alluded to, we have to find ways to impact the game to get us going. Like, I tell kids all the time that I train, you can score 10 points a game that has nothing to do with this one-on-one stuff. And I'll lay it out for them. Get fouled 3 times, 3 shooting fouls. Make 4 out of 6. That's 4 points. Sprint in transition, you know, the right way, the right lanes. You can get 1 or 2 layups. That's 6 to 8 points. Get an offensive rebound, put back. That's 8 to 10 points. And it had nothing to do with shooting. That literally had nothing to do with shooting. And that's not even like, you know, that's not even unrealistic. Like, it isn't. Get fouled, meaning you're aggressive going to the rim, right? Get fouled 3 times, shooting the ball.
And there's millions.
Play hard.
Yeah.
I mean, get a steal, get a layup, right? I mean, Asa can tell you, like,
get an assist.
Get an assist, like,
rebound.
Talk.
Have good energy.
The way that I played, I remember. This is the last thing I'll say. Then we'll wrap up. I think I've told this story before. I'm a rising senior in our varsity summer league. We're playing at St. Stephen's St. Agnes. We're playing against Annandale. And the year before, I didn't play at all. And one of our alumni was helping coach. And, you know, I know I wasn't like one of the guys that, you know, coach probably told him, like, get a lot of playing time. But there was a guy who was in 8th grade, rising 8th grade. Right?
Yeah, he wasn't even.
It wasn't like he was a rising freshman. He was a rising 8th grader. and Coach Whelan wanted them to play with us. So, even though I wasn't confident, I've always had pride and fight. And again, I'm a rising senior, right? I don't start, and I want to say it was like the second quarter. The coach puts not the varsity coach, but the person coaching the alumni puts in the 8th grader before me. And shout out to the 8th grader Will Ferguson. He was a prodigy, right? Like Will was different.
He could have took a lot of people's spots.
Yeah, it wasn't like he was some
a
scrub.
8th grader.
Yeah, it wasn't like he was a scrub. Like Will was a problem. But anyways, I get subbed in. I think in the 3rd quarter, I was so pissed off. I did not let the point guard get across half court. Literally, I had like 3 steals for layups. I think I got 2 layups and I got fouled on one and missed the free throw. Made the free throws. So I had 6 points in like 4 minutes, and I was so angry, dog. I was so pissed. And this dude
who was the coach?
It was Danny Jones. Danny's my guy too. But you know what's crazy? Nah, and
I knew it was.
And I have to say this. No, I have to say this though.
Shout out to Danny.
I have to say this though. Because I just thought of it.
He probably doesn't remember this.
No, he doesn't.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
And again, I don't even think he didn't do it on purpose. He wasn't trying to purpose. Like Danny's a great guy actually. And he was a great college and high school player. But anyways, here's a crazy thing, dog. That was summer of 2008. Fast forward to the winter of 2010. Varsity. The varsity coaches would have alumni come and play during Christmas break, right? So winter 2010, I get asked to come play, and it's me, Danny, and like 3 other guys. At that point, my college team is undefeated, and I'm starting. Right, I'm the starting point guard on our college team, and we were about to be ranked. And then Danny was a senior on a team. I think they were.
Did you ever play them?
No, we did. I wanted to though. We played them my junior and senior year.
Danny would have smoked y'all.
It would have been a good game. Danny, because Mitch was a problem. Mitch was All American. They would have had a good battle. But Danny was an All American, and Danny came off the bench. Danny was like their 6th man that year. Yeah, Danny was my guy.
That Herndon, not to switch gears, but that Herndon was 06 Scotty senior year.
Yeah.
That team was loaded, dog.
Man, what?
Loaded.
What?
But anyways.
Yeah, but my point is, like,
you still
seeing
mad about
the ball, yeah. Seeing the ball go through the hoop, doing something positive, it just kind of lets you relax. And as players, you have to find ways to relax yourself. But as coaches, you still have to recognize, hey, I may need to help this dude just relax. So that's it. Episode 95. Another good one. I think it would help a lot of people. Past this episode and the other ones that we've been doing, especially on the basketball side around, because we want to help people. And, we know we can. So appreciate y'all as always. Clock in, let's get it. And, peace and love.
Peace.